Welcome to Navigating Religious OCD. My name is Sariah Harrison. I'm glad that you're here and I'm excited for today's episode. Today, I'm going to be discussing the anxiety cycle and how it actually makes a lot of sense. Before I dive into today's content, I just wanted to share really quick where you can find me. My website is navigatingreligiousocd.com, and this is just like the main podcast page. It's got the episodes that I've released so far on there. In addition, if you want to watch the podcast instead of just listening to it, I have a YouTube channel. You can find the link to the YouTube video in the description of each episode. You can also find the link to the YouTube channel on my social media pages. You can find me on Instagram at Navigating Religious OCD, and you can find me on Facebook at Navigating Religious OCD. Okay, and now to dive into the content for today. This is one of my most favorite charts of the anxiety cycle because it shows that the anxiety cycle can be a part of a healthy experience with anxiety. Sometimes anxiety cycle charts will just show the anxiety cycle and it can just seem like one never-ending round that there's like no way out of. And it can feel that way at times when you are experiencing the anxiety cycle on repeat. Like it can feel like you're stuck in it. I've experienced that. But the good news is you don't have to stay stuck there. There are ways to get out. And one of the biggest things for me that has been so helpful in beginning to learn and to understand, to experience getting out of the anxiety cycle has been learning about it, has been understanding how it works such that I can navigate it in a different way. Just because you're experiencing the anxiety cycle or you're in the anxiety cycle also doesn't necessarily mean that you're having an unhealthy experience with anxiety. There are times when being in the anxiety cycle or experiencing anxiety in that way is actually very healthy. It's very productive. It keeps us safe. Okay, to explain this, I'm going to tell you a little story. Okay, so imagine we are on a hike together. And as we're walking along, we're initially in the sense of safety, right? Like there's no perceived threat. So we're just walking along, we're having a good time, we're feeling safe. Okay. And then a stimulus happens. Okay. Stimuli, they're happening all around us constantly, whether it's internal or external. If you have a thought, that's a stimulus. If someone says something, that's a stimulus. Like it's all just things that are happening in your environment, whether that's internal or external. Okay, so if there is a stimulus, such as hearing a rattlesnake sound, then there is going to pretty quickly be an interpretation that that is dangerous, right? What if that's a rattlesnake? This is going to activate the sympathetic nervous system in your brain and body. This is the fight, flight, or freeze response. And one way to describe it is like an alert or alarm system in your brain and body. The brain's goal is really just to keep you safe. And so when this sympathetic nervous system is activated, it's because there's a perceived threat. If something's interpreted as dangerous, then the brain is going to kick into action to start making things happen. So this high alert system is going to be flipped on. Okay, there's a book that I really, really love. It's a children's storybook. I love children's storybooks. It's called Hey Warrior. And it was written by a psychologist, and she just breaks down anxiety in a very simple way in this book. It's super practical, but really simple because she wrote it for kids. I love how she, I love how she described it here. She describes the fight, flight, freeze response as the brain just working really hard to keep you safe. And she describes some physical things that happen in your brain and body when the nervous system is activated, when this fight, flight, freeze response is activated. So I'm just going to read a little bit of what she wrote in this book. She says, "Your brain tells your body to stop using up oxygen on strong deep breaths so that your muscles can use it to fight or run. This makes your breathing fast and shallow. When this happens, you might feel puffed or breathless. The oxygen builds up inside you and the carbon dioxide you normally have drops. This can make you feel dizzy or confused. Your heart beats faster to get the fuel to where it is needed in your body. Your heart might feel like it's pounding too hard or beating too fast. The fuel gets sent to your legs in case they need to run, and to your arms in case they need to fight. Your arms and legs might feel tight or wobbly. Your body cools itself down so it doesn't overheat if it has to run. You might feel a bit sweaty. Your digestive system shuts down so the fuel it was using can be used by your muscles for running or fighting." Okay, so interesting. So your brain and your body are really just working to help you avoid what could potentially be dangerous. Okay, so if it actually is a rattlesnake that that is out here on this hike with us, then we are going to want to get out of there as quick as we can because rattlesnakes are actually dangerous. Like this is something that we're going to want to avoid. So if we see the rattlesnake, right, we're going to hike quickly out of run, probably. We're fleeing. So we're going to avoid it. And this is going to bring a sense of relief once like we've put some distance between ourselves and the rattlesnake. And then that relief is going to be reinforced in the brain as like, oh, like good, like we avoided that very real threat that could have been very harmful. That could have been really dangerous. And so that was good. Like we did a good job with that. And so it's going to be reinforced in the brain that rattlesnakes are dangerous. They should be avoided. And next time that happens, do the same thing. Do the exact same thing. Get out of there quick. Okay, this is a healthy experience with anxiety. This is a healthy experience in the anxiety cycle. It's good that we did what we did, and it's good that it was reinforced in the brain as something that's dangerous because it actually is, and it needs to be avoided. Okay, now we're back to the start of our story. Imagine now that we're walking along and we hear this rattlesnake sound and we think, oh no, there might be a rattlesnake. Same thing is going to start to happen in our body that nervous system is going to be activated. The fight, flight, or freeze response is going to come on, right? Like those alarms and alerts are going off in the brain. Our breathing, right, is going to be shallow. Our heart is beating. Our muscles are tense, right? Like we're bracing for this potential danger. But then we realize that there are no rattlesnakes and it's actually just cicadas. So we don't need to avoid any rattlesnakes. We can just face the cicadas. We can continue to walk on with that noise going because there's not a legitimate threat or danger. Okay, so then like we are now on this side of the healthy nervous system, right? Like we're experiencing this rise of anxiety and now it's going to start to come down because that's not a legitimate threat that we need to be worried about. And our brain now knows that. So now there's opportunity for the parasympathetic response to bring our brain and body back down to a sense of safety. Parasympathetic, it's like parachute, right? It brings the body back down to a sense of safety. There are lots of different ways that you can activate the parasympathetic response. There are a few that are listed here on this chart. One of them is to shake, to laugh, to breathe deep, to tell the story, to connect. All these things are going to help your body come back down to this sense of safety. And that is a healthy experience with anxiety. Anxiety was triggered, the nervous system was activated, that alert or alarm system in the brain was flipped on. But then it was realized that that was not a legitimate threat. There was no need to worry, like no need to fight or to flee or to freeze, right? And so then the parasympathetic response was activated and that alarm and alert system was turned off in the brain. We were brought back down to a sense of safety. Okay, that is normal. That's a healthy experience with anxiety. Okay, so I've just described healthy experiences with anxiety. What does it look like for an experience with anxiety to be unhealthy or to be stuck in the anxiety cycle? Okay, so we're going to go back to our previous example to illustrate this. If we're walking along and we hear that rattlesnake sound and we think, oh no, that might be a rattlesnake, there's the interpretation that it's dangerous. That's going to set off those alarms and alert systems in the brain, the nervous system, right? We're going to have all those physical responses as we brace to navigate this potential danger. If we realize that it is just cicadas, that there are no real rattlesnakes, there's no real threat, but we still feel threatened and we avoid it, there's going to be that sense of relief when we get out of there because there might have been a rattlesnake, right? And so we avoided the potential threat, the perceived danger. But if there wasn't actually a rattlesnake, that is going to enforce something in the brain more like avoid anything that sounds like a rattlesnake. It could also reinforce something like avoid this hike because there could be rattlesnakes here. Okay, so this is clearly unhealthy because at this point, anxiety is running the show, not you. Anxiety is deciding or telling you, your brain is telling you, right, through this anxious experience, you have to get out of here or else something really bad could happen. Anxiety is taking over in that moment. And when you continue to experience this over and over and over again, your life becomes really narrow because there are certain things that you can't do in certain places you can't go because it triggers too much anxiety. So, yes, there's going to be a sense of relief that you've gotten away from it, but this relief is only going to be temporary. In the long term, the anxiety is going to be reinforced in the brain and it's going to increase your levels of anxiety around all of these perceived dangers that are not actually real dangers. It can become really difficult because what seems to make logical sense or be natural to avoid or get away from something that could be a potential threat or danger is actually fueling an unhealthy relationship with anxiety. It's fueling an unhealthy experience in the anxiety cycle. Okay, so bringing this home and in conclusion, when the hike that we're on is real life and the rattlesnake sounds are our thoughts, it can be really difficult to discern what is a real threat, what's an actual rattlesnake, and what is a perceived threat, what just might be a cicada and doesn't actually need our time and attention and energy. However, if you are consistently avoiding anxiety or avoiding things to try to get away from the anxiety or the distress that they are causing, you might be experiencing the anxiety cycle in unhealthy ways. You might have an unhealthy relationship with anxiety. Anxiety might be controlling your life in ways that you don't want it to. This was the case for me. But you don't have to stay stuck there. There are tools that you can learn to navigate the anxiety cycle in a more healthy way, to know how to activate your natural calm response in your body, the parasympathetic response. One of my most favorite resources for this is actually Therapy in a Nutshell. Therapy in a Nutshell is run by a therapist named Emma, and she does a really good job of helping people understand mental health tools and skills in a really practical way. So you can find her at therapyinanutshell.com. She has lots of free resources on her site. She also has a free course called Grounding Skills for Anxiety, and she teaches you more about the nervous system response and the parasympathetic nervous response in your body and tools and skills that you can apply to build a more healthy relationship with anxiety, one that works for you instead of against you. So go check out her site, go check out some of her different resources. They are so valuable and I recommend them highly to you. They have been so, so helpful to me in my efforts to navigate my continued experience with anxiety and to build a healthy relationship with it. Okay, thank you so much for being here to listen and to learn. Please share this with someone that you think it would be helpful for. And I hope you have a wonderful day.